Professor, I'm sorry, my name is Victor, I already told you that. And I don't mean any respect, right, but I hate geese.
He's not taking that personally.
Well, I'm from Peru, first of all, and my bachelor's degree in Peru was history. So I read a lot. I like to read. And I like to deal with people that can maintain a conversation without having to raise the voice level. Right? And I take everything too hard when somebody talks to me, you know. And when I came to the country first, my first job was working at a warehouse. And it was terrible because everybody that screamed and yelled, and you know, and I hated it. You know, I hate, you know, dealing with people that was just like constantly screaming all the time and yelling at me and telling me what to do and whatever, right? So I took the profiling thing and came out an S. Yeah? And I couldn't really understand it very good until the gentleman here started talking about how he is at work. And I realized that I have clashes with D personalities all the time because I guess they come out at me and tell me something in a way or in a manner that I find offensive. And whenever that happens, I held a grudge like forever.
And Skippy, that's what us S's do.
And the only way
We don't forget.
something like that is just like if we solve it at the spot, like if he comes out at me and tells me, hey, you've done this bad or badly, and you have to fix it, I take it personally. But if he and I come to an agreement in the very same moment, then I don't hold the grudge. But if we don't really
Resolve
it out or resolve it, I just I could never talk to the person again, and I wouldn't even look at him. And
Are you beginning to realize now, though, that those conversations from the D's are really not personally directed at you? It's just a language they speak.
I'm pretty sure that sometimes it hasn't been personal, but I kind of sense that some other times it has been personal.
It's from my point of view. It's
because,
not.
I'm sorry. Let me just
I'm
finish this. Yeah, it's because sometimes I think the personalities see everybody else as lazy or as they don't work really hard like they do, right? And I'm not saying they don't work hard. I'm just saying that everybody works differently. Not everybody does the same. I mean, the same thing in the same way or the same manner. So if he sees me, working in something differently than the way he's used to, then he's gonna think that I'm being lazy or not as efficient as he is.
Mm-hmm.
And then he comes out at me, and I find that really personal.
That's the S.
I will say this to you, from this side, if you turn around and say, I feel like I'm doing a pretty good job, and you say, and I don't know why you feel this way, but if you talk to me about it, there's no offense. From my side, it's like, well, I think this, and you say, well, I think that. The problem is, what I feel is when I try to talk to the S's, they shut down on me. And they become guarded. So what I'm having to learn to do is to say, not come and say, dude, that is ridiculous. That looks like crap. And say something much kinder. But honestly,
right now.
Just the pain in his face is killing me.
yeah, what comes to mind is what I'm saying. Now, growing and being able to work with all the different types of people makes me have to, number one, recognize what I'm dealing with. Number two, say, okay, I'm sorry, your name, was it David?
Victor.
I'm sorry, I don't know where I got David from. Victor, and say, Victor, it'll work, but I'd like to try this or that. What do you think about that? And try to get a conversation going, because if you can get it seems like to me if you can get these other personalities into a conversation, you can grow, you can come up with a solution that they're happy with, and you can probably come up with a solution you're happy with. But that is very far from what is in my mind to say.
No, I understand. I mean, but when you're doing something at work, right, and somebody comes at you and tries to tell you how to do it, right, there's going to be an argument. And I love arguments. I can be argumentative too, but there's a difference between argumentative and then being loud and starting screaming, and then the argument kind of like increases in its level, right? And I hate a kind of confrontation, and I kind of think that I got myself into trouble is because I've been trying to set up for myself in a way that I probably should have done it, or maybe I should have stepped out of the conversation completely and tried to leave the person alone to just talk by himself,
You know, I think sometimes we get accused of being loud when what we're being is in our minds passionate about it. We're trying to.
We call it loud.
Oh, that's true.
The rest of the world
Yeah.
calls it loud, and I'm just trying to get my dang point across. I by no means is it ever an intention to yell at someone or to scream or to holler, but just to get us to come to the resolution and get the point across. First of all, we don't like to spend a lot of time on things. I don't want to talk about it for long. I don't want to just have this long, drawn-out conversation. I got a wife at home for that. I don't need, no, I mean, I love her and I love to talk to her and we talk and we have, and she's a strong ass, whoa, off the charts. And I've had to learn to shut up and not give my opinion when she comes home to talk about her day. I don't give my opinion. I just listen to her talk and say, oh, for the first 10 years I gave my opinion and
Didn't do you any good at all.
oh, she stayed mad. I really thought I was helping. It was not helping at all. Now, she's probably helped me learn how to temper this some. I don't look for my personality profile in a year to ever change.
No.
Because what's really going on up here is, oh, Lord, gosh, shut up. But what makes me, what I realize is, for her, I love her and I want to listen to her. For other people, I respect them as coworkers, and I need to learn how to. Not really. I know I just said that. That's not even true. I understand they're a coworker, and I need to work. Yeah, I saw you look at me when I said I respect them, and I know I was lying. But I'm learning how to. I know that's me. That's not you. That's me, and I get it. I just can't fix it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You've gone a long way.
Well, I don't mean. Want to fix it, but I have fixed it I have come a long way, but I will never lose the fact that in the back of my mind is shut up. But I am being able to not say it, which I did for the first 35 years of my life.
Introduce yourself, please.
My name is Jim. Sorry.
Hi, Jim.
Hey, Jim.
I was about to say about you talking about how yelling and screaming at people. It's a kind of like the same concept you see when someone's trying to talk to another person who either doesn't speak their language or they're slightly deaf. They just start yelling at them, thinking they're going to get it.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great point.
That's all it is. Because
It's
I
a
mean,
great
I
point.
work with quite a few Ds in law enforcement, which works great, to some extent. And the moment that you don't start seeing it their way, they start getting louder and louder. And I just sit back and laugh and just smile. Yeah,
when,
they
you
are.
can, when you can find yourself outside the conversation as
Oh,
an
it's
observer,
phenomenal to watch. It's entertaining.
It's cheap too.
So I find myself identifying in this discussion on a very personal level because I'm a huge D as well. But I'm in the opposite position because my managers are all S's and I'm a D. And I mean, they're all S's and big sensies. And I don't know what they don't get about shut up and let me work, God damn it! I don't
Was that an
get it.
amen back there?
amen.
I don't get it. Like every day I work truck, I come in, I work. They try and tell me something. It's like I'm working. Leave me alone. Every day I come in. Do you want us to buy you donuts? No, I want you to give me a pay raise. Shut up and let me work.
Clearly upwardly mobile, right?
Huh?
You're clearly upwardly mobile. That kind of feedback to the boss is just what he's looking for.
They just don't get it. Just let me work. Let me do my job
No,
and
they
get
don't.
your results.
They're never going to get it, and you have to realize that if you're going to work there, you're going to have to get it.
You have to
If
adapt.
you're going to work there, now that's not saying you're wrong or they're right or you're right. It's not even a relevant issue who's right or wrong. The point is, I have to realize that if what is expected of me is for me to do my job like I'm doing it, but to just take the edge off that I don't even realize I have, by the way, because I don't, and mine's. I can completely relate to where he's at, even though I think that I've been there. Now I've progressed, and you can progress from that spot, but that spot is completely rational to me, what he's saying, and not to most people. But you can't work with those people unless you begin to change you. Because
Until
they're
you-
not gonna change.
Until you learn that language,
That's right.
you might as well be from Norway and living in Birmingham,
Well,
Alabama.
like he said, it's a different language. It is.
It is.
And it's a different feeling. They actually have feelings that you have them too.
That you've never experienced.
Well, I have feelings too. Okay. I told somebody a while back that, I feel like sometimes I need medicine to deal with stupid people. Now,
They call that beer.
what got said to me was, that's not very nice. And I wasn't even shooting for nice, I was shooting for honesty. And
Totally different.
totally different. But see, everybody takes offense, and I don't mean it offensively. So I'm having to learn to think about that's another thing. What we don't do as D's, we don't think before we speak. There's no thought process. Whatever hits our head comes out our mouth. And I have come so far. But when someone else is talking, shut up so I can speak, shut up so I can speak, shut up so I can speak. That's what's going on. You have about this long to get your point. There's two types of personality. We talked about the kind where they say the story, maybe it was in this class, where they start off with the point, and then they tell the story, and the other tells the story, and then okay. I'm very much a tell the story and get to the point, but I need the rest of the world to tell the point and shut up. Now, I realize that's not a fair approach, but I can't explain it. Now, I've tempered it. Man, I've tempered it, because I can tell you that I can deal with everybody, and I can sit and I can shut my mouth and listen to them is like leaps and bounds.
Have you ever read that book? What is it? Men are from Mars, women are from
That's exactly what you were describing.
Yeah.
You familiar with the book?
It's,
Men are from Mars,
I've
women are
not
from
read
Venus.
it. It seems stupid.
well,
But I probably should.
It is exactly what you just described. She comes home, you shut up, you
Yes,
listen.
exactly.
Stop trying to fix it.
but that is so relevant with the people you deal with in the rest of your world. It is really driven at couples, but when you take that mentality, and I had to read it a bunch.
Give it an audio and just listen to it when you're out around.
Well, when you start stopping the conversation in your head and start applying some of those things that you pick up over those 20, 30 years, it starts making sense, and you start getting out of some of those arguments and fights and the negativity that you're experiencing because you can't stop that process. But the fact that you recognize that process, that's miles down the road. So now it's just a matter, okay, what are my options? And it's no different than when you go and evaluate a site. You present, here it is, here's the problem. What are you gonna do about it? Now turn that around and ask yourself the same question. You've recognized what the issues are that you need to work on. Now what you gonna do about it?
Well, what I do is I take the approach I have with my wife, which is to shut up and listen. And I'm trying to carry it into the rest of my life.
Let me throw and pitch one other book very quickly. And it's originally designed for interpersonal relationships. It's called The 5 Love Languages.
Oh,
I've got
yeah.
that book if anybody wants to borrow
It's
it.
a good one.
It is
I
a
have it too.
powerful book for, interpersonal, romantic, whatever relations. But if you read it a little bit further out, it's also about how all of us interact. We all want to be loved or accepted or appreciated in different ways.
It's a
And
connection thing.
Yeah, if I am telling you how great you are in some way that doesn't matter to you, I might as well be, singing a song. I'm wasting time. What are the 5 love languages? You remember what they are?
Touch,
Touch,
giving,
Time
Doing.
time, services rendered,
Services.
Services,
yes,
and words.
yeah.
words, kind words.
Yeah. And if you learn those languages and learn what your partner appreciates, it can really make a difference in a relationship. So there are applications in the business world along that same line. Yes, sir, you were up.
Again, two things I wanted to mention.
Well, we'll go for one.
Okay. Both of them. Well, my name is Jeremy, by the way. I've never introduced myself. And the first thing I want to say is to Jim, right? Jim?
That's right.
Yeah, okay. Is that the mentality that you want to understand the other side is pretty much, from what my experience, the hardest barrier to break. And I think it's like almost worth like an applause to say, good job on trying to understand the other side, which is the side I'm on.
Even realizing there's another side, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. The other thing I want to say is that I'm a CS, which is from what is perfectionist. And so, like, from your perspective, you're like, this was a mistake, this needs to be fixed, fix it, move on. From my perspective, I didn't staple the papers right. This is the end of my life. Because I make a mistake, it's like, that's a personal mistake, like I chose like to kill someone, or I take a lot of pride in being doing perfect things, which is a bad thing too, because when I don't do it perfectly, it is a lot of stress on me. But that's my perspective, is you're just like, oh, there's a small thing that needs to be fixed, you fix it, everything's good. For me, it's, oh, there's a small thing that needs to be fixed, this is the end of the world. And that's I guess from my side.
Mm-hmm. And having recognized it, you can work on getting past it, but until you recognize it, it's got to be very stressful.
Well, for Victor,
Yeah.
I believe that, and I probably don't say it enough, but I do say it to the guys that work with me as much as I think of it. I don't care if you make a mistake. Usually when they make a mistake, I tell them, this is what I tell them, I don't care that you make a mistake. Just don't make this one tomorrow. Let's just learn from this mistake and let's not make it again tomorrow. We're all going to make mistakes. So I do feel like mistakes are trivial. Even if they're big, it's like, okay, so we did this, now how are we going to fix it? Give me a solution and let's not do it again. Now, when you're very hard on yourself and you take a lot of pride in what you do, like y'all are talking about you do, I don't think you handle that criticism very well. I think we all have things to work on in that aspect, in that conversation. Just like you're not handling the criticism, in my opinion, very well, I'm not presenting the criticism very well. We're not sitting talking about solutions. We're getting too wrapped up in the fact there was a mistake. We both have things to learn from each other.
That's true.
Susan?
I have found that myself put in the position, my boss is a D, and I'm his S filter. I'm the one that's out there screening people, letting them get their S-ness out, so that when they go in to talk to him, they can get to the point. So we get put in those kinds of positions in the work world as well. Mm-hmm. And it's all about being able to set yourself aside. It's all about just stepping aside and letting the other person fill the airwaves for a while, and then putting yourself back in to the best of your ability in a language that they can understand. But I think D personalities have a terrific place.
Well, that was what Professor Strickland said, the kind of takeaway from that whole discussion about the DISC. Is that we have to
How to shift
Stop
your
your
strengths
Right.
or work on your weaknesses. And
Be a chameleon.
be-
You got to get
be
close
able
to the middle, not on the edges.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm really trying.
It's tough.
Middle's
It's
a
tougher
long
for
ways
Ds
away.
than any of us.
That self-awareness, that's a management trait, right?
Yeah.
Now, if you work for a D or with a D, and you're not a D, my experience has been the key is to proving to them you can do what you're supposed to do. Once you prove that you are a doer, you have done it, you can do it, you will do it, you can have a very good relationship. But until you've proved yourself, you're still out there being judged.
I have a perfect example of that. Whenever I was hired at that particular job, I was hired along with a big D. And by the time I was getting closer to the end there, we routinely told each other, it's like, we don't get along, but we know we had each other's backs, because I knew how to do my job as well as he did. And I knew he knew how to do his job as well as he did, as I did. And so even though we never got along, we always butt heads, we always knew that we had each other's backs, and we could go out there and take care of something that would take 5 or 6 other people to do.
Well,
That's
if nothing
respect.
else, out of all of this, from now on, when you find yourself in some kind of evolving conflict with a person, I hope at least you've got another way to look at it and not see it as such a threat or frustration, whatever like that. Now, we got a couple of other things to talk about tonight before we wrap up, and we're supposed to be out of here in 7 minutes, give or take, okay? I wonder what we were supposed to talk about.
networking DC.
You've got the networking DC due Monday. Has anybody had any issues, questions? I know you haven't started yet, but any in your preparation?
We'd like for everybody in this room
You're
tonight
on
to
to
be given
us.
100.
Okay?
And the people who didn't come to class will have to do it.
That's a good.
That is
That's
a
a
great
reasonable.
idea.
That's
Exactly.
why I was
I'm on board with
that.
that 100%.
I got 3 Ds out here telling me what to do.
Oh, I see. Hold on now.
Find out how to
I see.
believe,
I'm
don't
not
you?
a D.
Well, you know how to play the role.
Million.
Networking. don't feel stuck with whatever format I gave you. Any way you want to present this, it's creative, it's easy to absorb, okay? But mostly what I'm really interested in is what is your network now and what are you doing to grow it, to nurture it? Deeper and wider. More people, or take the people that you know and cultivate those relationships on a stronger basis. And I'm really looking for specific actions you can take. Howard?
I have one question about networking competence, mainly the fact that, for the most part, I see it as the external network outside of your current organization, perhaps a few people from your current organization. Obviously, we're talking about the give and take, the principles of exchange that you were talking about before, but I started kind of working on an internal networking competency. Throw that in there too.
Absolutely.
Because I mean, within like what I do for a living, sometimes it's not just about what you know how to do, but who knows that you know how to do that.
And you
that
know,
builds you in that
I get very troubled by the phrase that I hear parlayed about it's not what you know, it's who you know. That's absolute nonsense.
That's why I changed it. It's not
Because
what you know.
I don't know what you know, but you better know something. You better be able to do something. But once you can do something, if other people don't know about it,
Screwed.
your future's very limited.
It's what that says it right in one of the resources that you said. I just read that today. Somebody actually turned that phrase around. But I think too, the way I'm kind of looking at this assignment, so hopefully it's right, is that it's not just necessarily the people you network with in your line of work, it's just networking of people because you don't know who they know.
That's exactly
Bingo.
right. That is exactly right. And that's what, people, I don't know where to start here. People come to me and they say, well, I'm going to graduate at the end of next term. Yeah, what are you going to do then? Oh, I don't know. I want to grab them by the throat and shake them because you've got months and months and months to go out and meet people, get engaged, internships, volunteer work, social activities. How well do you know your friends? Where do they work? What do they do? So, yeah, everything you can do, internal, external, off-planet, no problem.
A whole bunch of you have started a network with this Google thing that you have going on, and I bet you found that different of you have different skills, different interests, and you can grow those kind of things.
And I think after tonight's conversation, some of you ought to spend some time talking to some of the others.
Yeah.
Because you know each other a little better now. You will talk to us, won't you, Jim?
If we get to the point,
Okay, yeah.
and shut up.
All right, anything else going on in your mind?
I was thinking about the midterm and the struggles that some people had and some other people didn't. And I think it might be prudent for people to see if they can get with the people who did really well and the people who did really poorly, get with the people who did really well and form a study group because, to work on that, because the people who do really well will, be able to teach stuff out and help them and learn more because teaching is a great way to learn. And then, the people who didn't do really well can maybe get help. And, I think that I've just been thinking about that, and I think that would be a great idea.
How do you facilitate? That's my first question. And that means people have got to start communicating. You can email anybody in the class, right? Keith, how many people you got in your Google group?
30, 40.
Somewhere around there.
30.
Somewhere around there, but nobody ever uses it.
I think a lot of people use it for the text.
It's
No,
it's
there's
a
two
different-
groups.
I think
Two Google groups?
There's
One
like
guy-
3 people.
Yeah, that's a different group that he's talking
There's-
about.
I'm on it right now.
There's
If
3
you-
people who actively use my Google Docs.
Message to.
Well, there's
That's
a bunch of them
different
using,
Google
how
Doc.
many of y'all in the other group?
You, and like one other person.
I look
Yeah.
at it, I don't actually submit
I'm
stuff.
Susan, I'm the one that hasn't gotten the email from Wes with the links.
I'm Rebecca.
Hi, Rebecca.
And I hate to be a spoil sport, but no matter what resources you bring to bear, there are gonna be those who won't take advantage of them.
That's, yeah.
Or
You
there's
have a
those
lot of
that
those
will
folks not
take
with us
advantage.
Yeah.
I have to say, because I just have to. It's so interesting to hear the things that, like you say that, as I try to take other people's feelings into consideration, because I just think the fact that I don't want to study with someone that didn't do well, that just seems like a complete waste of my time. And I'm not saying it to down, by no means. I'm saying it to tell you, it's interesting to me to learn from the other
Yeah.
personalities. That is actually a.
He's
that was
just being
pretty neat.
honest.
Yeah.
That was pretty neat you said that, because I would have never thought of that. So I want to hear things like that. It helps me to better relate to other people.
Let me process it one more step. If you study with someone who is not as adept as you, in teaching them, you will learn infinitely more than they will.
That was his point.
That's
You
the
do.
point.
When I went through correction school, I was a correctional officer years ago, and when I went through, the way I learned was to hold. I would take the book and I would ask the questions, and the other would give me the answers. I never studied by reading the book myself. I'd always say, "Y'all want to study?" And then I'd say, "No, I'll ask y'all the questions." And they all appreciated me asking the questions because they all got to study and answer them. And I learned. I mean, I make hundreds on all my tests. So I realize what you're saying works. It's
It is
not
efficient.
even something that triggers
He's
in my head.
results oriented.
Yeah. Excellent point.
You know, I hate to say it, I mean, I'm an IC, and I'm kind of glad that we got, you know, the term they use in the logging industry is thinned out.
Oh, okay.
Not nice.
I'm gonna agree with you. You know how many hours I've spent grading papers on people who didn't want to do the work to complete this course?
Oh, how frustrating.
Bet it is.
Yeah.
So I agree with you, Ben. Okay? If you're not here to actually produce and make
Because
the
you have
effort,
to thin those trees out so the rest of it can grow.
you're really taking up a lot of time I'd rather be spending fishing, you know? So I'm glad y'all are here. Clearly you give a damn. And with that, the mass is ended. Onomatopoeia. Bye.